Hello, this is Pablo with Meditation Amsterdam. Today I want to make a very short video building on yesterday's video. And so yesterday I touched upon this idea that there comes a time when we need to allow for our deepest and darkest shame to arise and be directly looked at, so that we can, in doing so, see the ego's real essence, and in allowing ourselves to see it, we can in turn transcend it. And that deep dark shame that we carry, that we hardly admit to ourselves, is, or at least appears from within ego identification as hatred for life and hatred for oneself. In today's video, I want to elaborate a little bit more on why we are, apart from the shame of such mental function, reluctant to see it, and how spirituality can sometimes get in the way of the very progress that it's trying to make. So in order to explain that, you can imagine how the first thing that happens with an emotion that we are not ready to process is that our mind will subconsciously repress it. That means that it will push it down into the body and store it there for later revision, in order to keep our sanity and keep our peace of mind. And at some point, the discomfort starts to bubble up. And when we become consciously aware of it, we may still be in a state of suppression. So now we're aware that there is a discomfort, emotional, somatic discomfort in the body, and we're now actively trying to ignore it and push it down. When we start to do spiritual work, that awareness that there's something that doesn't want to be looked at starts to become much more clear in our heads. And we become then inclined to make a understandable mistake, which yet separates us from getting to the point where we want to go. That mistake is to try to more clearly see the pain that we've been trying to avoid and jump straight into trying to accept that discomfort. So, for example, if we are afraid of a certain situation, say, for example, not finding the right job that we want, and that terrifies us, and maybe the financial consequences are terrifying to us. And when we feel that terror, we feel the discomfort in the body. And if we have a little bit of spiritual understanding, we would have learned that we need to surrender to that discomfort in the body. However, we need to come to grips with the fact that we have been, first of all, repressing and then suppressing that discomfort, and that we cannot make a jump from suppression to acceptance in a single go. There is a intermediate step that is absolutely crucial for us to actually feel that discomfort, and that is to accept that we are suppressing it. In other words, accept that we do not want to feel it. See, if we feel the looming discomfort and we try to accept it directly, very often we will see that even though we are trying to touch it and feel it, it's almost like we bounce off of it. We try to touch it and we say, typically the feeling would be one of, I'm getting really close to feeling my fear, but I keep bouncing off. I can't be able to touch it. I can't seem to be able to feel it. So it's almost like we're coming from the outside trying to touch it and accept it, but it doesn't want to be felt. And it feels like you're afraid of it. And that fear prevents you from feeling the discomfort and accepting the discomfort. What I would submit to you is that once we realize that we are suppressing something, instead of trying to accept that something, we should try to accept our reluctance to feel it. Because the reluctance is already there. And what's interesting is that reluctance is hiding itself as the very feeling of the discomfort being something that is personal to us. So the feeling of, I don't want to feel this, is the name that the reluctance actually takes. So we're trying to play a very cunning and clever game in which, instead of going for acceptance of the discomfort, we go for acceptance of our reluctance to feel the discomfort. And in doing so, we open the door for surrender to what is, because what is at that point in time is both the discomfort and the reluctance. So we cannot bypass that. The reluctance itself needs to be recognized and fully accepted. If that reluctance takes the form of guilt, then we need to fully accept that we are guilty about not being able to accept the discomfort. If it takes the form of shame, then we need to fully accept that we feel ashamed and feel the shame fully, together with the discomfort that the situation creates in us. In doing that, we are taking a full and sincere view of what that moment is, as opposed to trying to impose a surrender that is being imposed by our mind on the situation, which in turn makes our mind bounce away from the discomfort that we're trying to experience. This can be a little bit of a confusing point, and you may find yourself having to listen to a few times. The main gist of it is that when you are feeling something for the first time, chances are something in the back of you doesn't want to feel it. You can tell that something is there if the whole situation feels personal, and then you can know for sure if it feels personal, there is resistance, and your job is to fully feel the resistance rather than trying to accept the situation and its discomfort directly. Another way that you can look into this is you feel discomfort and there is a shouldn't in your head. So there's a part of you that says, I shouldn't be feeling this. And through incorrect spiritual understanding, you try to go from shouldn't to say, I should be feeling and accepting this. And what I'm trying to explain at this point is that both should and shouldn't are phases of the ego. You're pushing and pulling on experience. You have either aversion or craving, and both should and shouldn't have no standing when it comes to doing the work correctly. The only valid move is the is move. So you accept what is, which includes the discomfort and the reluctance. There is no place for should and shouldn't. Both of those are a move away from what is, and therefore they are an egoic move by definition. As I said, it's a nuance point. It took me at least 10 years to understand this because the appeal of trying to accept or surrender is very big, and the mind turns that into a I should be surrendering, and that in itself creates more resistance, so that it's almost a cessation of should and shouldn't to simply allow what is there, whether it is acceptance or resistance, whether it is comfort or discomfort. You simply become a very alert observer, and you let it be for what it is. And by doing that, you remove the tugging and the push and pull of the mind, which is trying to manhandle the situation, because there is resistance being introduced to the situation. And as usual, if you think that this is valuable content, then you are most welcome to leave your comments. You can like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone you think might benefit from listening to these messages. And I'll be back with more. See you soon. Cheerio.